Thank you. Madam Rajavi, distinguished guests, freedom-loving people around the world, and most importantly, the 3,400 residents of Camp Ashraf. I'm honored to be here with you today. Those of you at Ashraf, you've endured much while spending nearly 9 years in virtual captivity. Make no qualms about it. The first 6 years were under the protection of the coalition forces. And for the past 3 years, under the barbaric captivity of the al-Maliki regime. This speech is about my friends at Camp Ashraf, who I know personally. But it's important also that this speech is to bring attention to the world in highlighting the plight of those 3,400 men and women. I can only imagine how the mullahs laughed when, under orders, my unit shut down and confiscated the MEK radio transmitters, silencing the voice of freedom for the Iranian people. The reason given to me was because the MEK were terrorists. So obviously, they're sending terroristic broadcasts. The decision to cut this link off between the MEK and the people living under the iron grip of the mullahs was ridiculous. When you step back and look at these decisions, you really got to wonder. Consolidating the MEK at Camp Ashraf, I was part of that. Disarming them, I was there. Placing them under detention-like restrictions, I implemented that. And silencing their radio. It sounds like we were working for the mullahs instead of the multinational coalition forces. While the soldiers of the 89th Military Police Brigade, my brigade, detained 3,400 members at Camp Ashraf, the mullah regime was simultaneously providing weaponry and EFPs and other munitions designed to kill those soldiers. And we were actually doing the mullah's bidding by taking the MEK off of the battlefield and out of the equation. The mullahs could not have paid or bribed or extorted or blackmailed such an effective effort to thwart their number one opposition, the MEK. We, the U.S., we did it for them. To make matters worse, we walked away from a written promise to protect them, thereby abandoning the very people who can bring about change in Iran. We left them to the real terrorists. The al-Maliki regime has a tarnished record in many areas, but none so much as the abusive and sadistic and barbaric treatment of the unarmed men and women at Camp Ashraf, the Iranian resistance. Al-Maliki, you may want to use revisionist history, but there's no taking away the blood on your hands for the murder of over 40 unarmed people who were guaranteed protected status under the rights of the Fourth Geneva Convention, not to mention over 1,000 who were wounded, some critically. I lose sleep because I was the spokesperson for the coalition forces with the MEK at Camp Ashraf. As the commander of the 89th MP Brigade, I conducted sweep operations, looking for violations of the agreement the MEK made to disarm. I never found a violation. I directed my forces to search every square inch of that 36 square kilometer facility, and not one piece of contraband, not one violation was found. My forces also participated with other government agencies in determining the status of every one of those 3,400 people, and not one was found to be associated with terrorism or even any criminal acts. The residents of Ashraf were each given a written, individually, each of them, a written promise of protection. I personally delivered the first written promise. And that promise was broken when we abandoned the 3,400 men and women to an undisciplined force under the command and control of the Iranian puppets, al-Maliki. I lose sleep each night because we did wrong. We did the morally unconscionable act of reneging on a national promise to protect these people. Al-Maliki, I suspect you lose sleep too, because you sold your soul. The mullahs probably laugh out loud at your foolhardy actions in advancing their cause of murdering and destroying everything that threatens their absolute fascist power. Yes, you lose sleep at night knowing that you were responsible for the murder of over 40 of the members of the MEK. Surely you must realize when you are no longer useful to the mullahs, they're going to discard you too. Yes, we both lose sleep at night. Only I am doing everything I can to save the lives of those 3,400 men and women, while you, Al-Maliki, are doing the opposite. Thank you for allowing me to get involved with righting a wrong. I lived with the people of Camp Ashraf for well over a year, and I've worked with them for many more. Few people know them better. My firsthand information is from my personal experiences, not obtained through politics or propaganda or lies. I saw it, I lived it. Unlike some other people that write with little or no experience or firsthand knowledge from ivory towers and repeatedly spew unsubstantiated allegations. One of those reports was published by an organization which I formally respected. It was the Human Rights Watch report on Camp Ashraf. Although I was still on active duty at the time, I felt it was so ridiculously far-fetched that I had to speak out. I countered in writing to the director of the Human Rights Watch that report. I can think of few things that have made me prouder than having stood up and refuted the garbage that was in it. I made reference in my letter to wanting my own daughter to visit and spend time at Camp Ashraf. Interestingly, I didn't receive a single comment from the director of Human Rights Watch. But I now got to bring up some very troubling information from my sources within the Iraqi government and Ministry of Interior. My Iraqi friends tell me that not only was Camp Liberty looted, vandalized, and pilfered away, and that a small facility was constructed as a prison facility, not to house all 3,400 members of the MEK. My personal sources, who I served with, I bled with, and I fought with, so I trust them. They say that Camp Cropper, on the other side of the Bayat facility, the Baghdad International Airport, is being reopened. That's the facility where we kept the former senior leaders of the Ba'athist regime. I know my forces ran that facility. That it is being reopened for the senior leaders of the MEK who have arrest warrants for them. Well, Secretary Clinton, if it's not so, let's verify that. I'll personally fly to Baghdad and take a look, and I will report back. And this will cost U.S. taxpayers nothing. I'll do it at my own expense. President Obama, send me as a former general who is very familiar with Camp Liberty, having lived there too, and knows what it takes to billet thousands of people while providing for minimum essentials for hygiene, quality of life, food. Oh, let's talk about quality of life. Even the basketball back hoops have been looted away. I've got the pictures of what Liberty looks like now.